Welcome to the Breckenridge Zone's eCast of the Bear Facts for September 29th, 2011. I am your host, T.R. Ursade. Our goal is to peel away the spin, the doublespeak, the gobbledygook, to ask the obvious and not so obvious questions that have gone unasked, to turn a spotlight on the reality that politicians and voters seem determined to live in willful denial of. We seek to bring critical thinking and logic to bear on public policy by generating open debate based on the facts that are exposed by peeling away the layers of twaddle and chicanery. As it says in the Tao of James, the voyage of discovery is not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes. We still haven't received the requested evidence from the health minister demonstrating that points, air miles, etc., being collected by people on pharmacare cost the taxpayers of BC even a single cent. We of the Breckenridge Zone had requested proof, not supposition or I believe, but actual hard facts proof that the taxpayers of BC had paid a single cent to Safeway for air miles collected by those on pharmacare. This request was made after pointing out that if you followed the logic laid out in the letter from the Deputy Minister in charge of pharmacare, justifying the new policy of not permitting those on pharmacare to collect points on pharmacare drug purchases, it would not, had not, cost the taxpayers a single cent. We demanded that the health minister either provide proof that it had or would cost the taxpayers of BC a single cent for air miles points, or failing to provide proof, to return to allowing thrifty people on pharmacare to collect points that could be used for $20 in gas or grocery coupons to stretch their dollars further. To date, the health minister has failed to provide proof and failed to change the policy back to what it had been for years, allowing those in need to collect and redeem points for necessities. In light of this failure to act, we would like our listeners or transcript readers to send an email demanding either proof or reverting to the policy allowing the collection of points to our current health minister, Mike the Merciless de Jong. Speaking of Health Minister Mike the Merciless de Jong, he and his minions are no doubt laughing up their sleeves at Harry Bloy being demoted from being a minister because of the negative publicity on changes and program cuts at BC Community Living. Not that Minister Bloy and his bureaucrats did not deserve negative consequences for what community living is doing to very vulnerable people they are supposed to care for and help. But as those involved with the Ministry of Health's mental health programs and policies are well aware, Mike the Merciless and his minions are abandoning those under their care as well, but have the advantage of their victims being less photogenic and sympathetic. As if it was not bad enough that the health minister and his senior bureaucrats have, through their action statements and claims concerning the non-existent cost to taxpayers of the collection of rewards points by those on pharmacare, demonstrated a lack of understanding of the fiscal realities of BC and its government. The lack of understanding of even basic fiscal reality contained in Transport Minister Blair Leckstrom's muddled ramblings on tolls versus long-term debt vis-a-vis the Portman Bridge suggests that, despite their claims to the contrary, BC's Liberal government is seriously challenged when it comes to a basic understanding of even the simplest financial facts and realities, which serves to explain the current disastrous state of BC's finances and the rather grim outlook for the province's future financial and economic health. While spring may seem far into the future, it really isn't that distant in time. And you don't want to miss being in Vancouver for the spring festivities. So book your flights and accommodations now and avoid bitter disappointment. Come join us in beautiful, supernatural Vancouver, British Columbia this spring. You will enjoy riotous good times. Supreme Court decision on Insight, Vancouver's safe injection site, is due Friday. The federal Conservatives insist that Insight be closed because it clashes with their crime bill. Not surprising, given that the Insight program is based on knowledge about medical issues and human behavior, while the Conservatives' crime bill ignores knowledge and, perhaps more importantly, ignores years of experience and outcomes demonstrating the futility of following the course the Conservatives insist on following. A course that ignores what the research and test programs have shown to be effective in helping those struggling with addiction to find and stay in recovery. The Conservatives insist on continuing to do the same thing over and over again, hoping that perhaps one of these decades it will suddenly produce a different outcome. With crime at its lowest rate since 1973 and continuing to fall, the Conservatives are going to waste billions of dollars, year after year after year after year, on a course of action that will accomplish nothing. Well, it will accomplish nothing desirable. This course of action follows the path laid out by U.S. states as they try to lock up more and more and more people. And where did that lead them to? Into being bankrupt. Now, because they're political entities, they have not shut down. But the consequences of their dire financial straits is they are cutting programs and services left, right, and center. And that is where we Canadians are going to end up, should the Conservatives insist on wasting all these billions of dollars on pointlessly locking up more and more Canadians. Finally, in light of the fact that the mess we have dug ourselves into requires us to act with altruism if we want to get out of it, we want to share this story of the old Cherokee and his grandson. One evening, an old Cherokee told his grandson about a battle that goes on inside people. He said, "My son, the battle is between two wolves inside of us. One is evil. It is anger, envy, jealousy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego. The other is good. It is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith." The grandson thought about it for a minute and then asked his grandfather, "Which wolf wins?" And the old Cherokee simply replied, "Which one will you feed?" That's the bare facts for Thursday, September 29th, 2011. Remember, your best defense against politicians, media, big business, and others seeking to bamboozle or manipulate you is thinking.